Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to YouTube. My name's Kyle, and if you guys have been following along with the Barndominium build, you know we've started working on this porch. Now behind me, you're gonna see it basically finished, and we will get there. But first I wanna talk to you guys about today's sponsorship. North One has agreed to sponsor this video, and it's because they want me to help promote their giveaway for small businesses. Obviously, as a small business owner, I know the importance of separating your personal finances and your business finances. This is a great opportunity, if you haven't done that already, to go open an account, fund it with a minimum of $50, and you can enter into their giveaway where they're gonna be giving away $5,000 to one lucky winner and also $500 to 10 other winners. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to join North One? Well, first off, North One has over 320,000 small businesses, across America currently enrolled in their online banking platform. And the fact that it is 100% online means that you never have to step foot into a bank again. Personally, for me, that's a huge benefit because I never have time to get to the bank. I'm always working during those banking hours. Obviously, there's a lot of you that are going to be in the same situation, so this might be a good fit regardless of the giveaway. You can easily move your money, make payments, use ACH transfers, sync it up to your online financial accounts like Stripe, PayPal, and others. And the nice thing is you can link it to your QuickBooks for easy accounting. What I like most about this promotion with North One is obviously that they're supporting small businesses. So I'm gonna put a link down in my description where you guys can check it out, get your account set up. You can look into all the details. Super easy, less than 3 minutes, you can have an account, get it funded, get into the giveaway. But more importantly, I hope it helps you with your small business. So now that we've talked about that, let's get into finishing up the build on this porch. All right, so I'm working on the rafters and the fascia overhangs and all this good stuff here on this other side of the porch. And when we get to the hips where we've got, obviously an angled rafter, it's not going to be, straight perpendicular to the porch like this one will be. We got a little bit more thought to go into it because you can use math, and I typically will, but sometimes you have to do a little bit of setup in order to get to that point. So what we've done is you'll see this block out here. That's measured off that corner that we did plumb up and lock down perfectly right where we wanted it. And then that is marked out at our overhang dimension so that I could get this snap line here back to this overhang that we also have locked down. That'll allow me to get a nice straight fascia line on here. I can tell you what I don't like about this saw. That's the Makita XGT. The guard seems to hold up all too much. It doesn't allow you to get into your material as freely, I think, as some other saws out there. So now I can go ahead and get this rafter cut, and I can get this fascia board installed. It'll just get tacked to that board out there, which is just a temporary brace.
Look at that, that's perfect for you, dude.
How's that cut looking, man? All right, so right there, you can go ahead and screw it. Let me just do a visual check on 1.5 inches. That's where I want to be right there, so you screw that.
1.5 inches.
All right. Here you go. You can throw that in the air. 1, 2, 3. I feel like good content though would be explaining how to cut a rafter like this.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are pretty clean cuts though, man. Remember sometimes back in the day, cuts were never,
Your cut's pretty good.
they're really come a long way. And I would say it's all due to the advent of math. I don't think I really understood it before. All right, so this last rafter here that I've cut down is a little bit different, and that's so that we can build our overhang. So what we're gonna do is I did the math to drop it down so that when a 2x4 lays over top of it, it will plane in with the tops of the rest of these rafters. So just like the other ones, we're gonna go ahead and put it on. And this one though, will not go all the way out to the end. It's gonna be back. It look pretty good right where I want it. Let's go ahead and screw this in. And mathematically, if I remember correctly, I was supposed to be 10'4" off the wall. And we are exactly at 10'4". Math doesn't lie when you apply it in the right way, which is why we individually measure each one of these instead of just saying, it's a 10-foot deep porch with a 16-inch overhang and just go gang cut all the rafters. I've done that in the past, and I've learned over the years that it just doesn't pan out as good. Okay, so that is a dropped rafter. So what's gonna happen, I can go ahead and put one of these perlins up.
I'm watching, I'm like, wait, why do I look so far?
No! So guys, something that happened is my camera just fell over, and for some reason, that memory card gave me an error, probably because it got jarred, and it didn't record the section where I was showing this here. So you can see now, these purlins are set on top of the 2x12 rafter versus these over here sit flush with the top of the rafter. And this does make it a lot easier when we get to our hips and valleys to have the rafter defining that hip and valley perfectly and giving us a nice solid blocking. But the nice thing is when we do a drop purlin like this, it gives us a nice strong overhang. I'm really upset that my camera fell over in the mud because now I'm at to clean that, and hopefully it didn't mess up the, I didn't even check, but hopefully it didn't mess up the mount on the lens. No big deal. Yep. They make new cameras every day.
You know what's not replaceable? Our friendship.
Well, then you should probably think about that next time you do what you did, and you know what you did. So as we continue to build this porch, I wanted to show you guys. This is what we do to attach our rafter to that bottom 2x6. We've got a hurricane strap attaching that back down to our header, and all of these purlins underneath here will get hangers mounted so that they won't go anywhere. So that's kind of the process as we go. We do that. So the last thing that we've got to frame up here are the hips and valleys. Obviously, those are the hardest parts because they involve compound miters for the framing. And not that it's hard, it's that I like to get everything else locked down, like all the intermediate bays, the things that are easier to use math and make perfect. And then we can come in and make sure that our hip is built off of something solid. So we don't get a wavy hip, we got a nice straight hip, and straight valley. Like, all those things matter to us, so I always save them for the end so that we can make sure everything else is built well, built solid, built where it should be, and then we go from there. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow, hips and valleys, so let's just keep this rolling. Got kind of lucky this morning. It's pretty firm. That will all be mud soon when this sun gets a little higher and starts warming it up, but for now we were able to get the telehandler over here with a full bunk of 5/8 Weather Logic, and that is also flanked by the big scissor lift. We haven't had the Mega Duck in Mega Duck? Mega Duck. DuckTales. We haven't had the Mega Deck in use in quite a while, actually. It's been sitting. So now that we have this fascia on, you can see we've developed this corner here, and this is where the outside of our fascia meets. So we've got everything right where we want it. We've got some temporary blocks holding this corner up, and that is so that I could get a dimension back to the wall exactly where we want our fascia. That was, I think, Greg, what were we, about 3/16 different than mathematics?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. So what that means basically is that either this corner is not perfectly plumb from the foundation, or this corner is not perfectly plumb from the foundation. 3/16 of an inch is probably acceptable, because the main thing that we want is we want it to look good and be plumb. So we checked this corner with our plate level, so we know that that is plumb, locked in, and we've got very nice straight looking fascia. So everything is where we want it, but that kind of just shows that you can't, yes, math will never lie, but the problem is we're in an imperfect world, so the math is perfect, not us. So we just adjust as we go, and now that we have those dimensions, I've got a, behind me here, we've got a LVL. So I didn't want to use a 2x12. This span gets kind of long. It's about 16'5", and we're going to run that with an LVL and make our rafter. So now I have to do the math on where all these angles are going to be so that our hip and everything works out. So you can see all my marks here. What we've done is we've done the math to determine that this right here, this line represents where my fascia is going to plane in out on the corner. What we had to do, though, was the math to take off the thickness of an 1.5 inch board. You can't just take off an 1.5 inch because you've got compounding angles that are going together here. And that brings us back to this point. So this point right here should be the inside of where our two fascia boards are going to come together and meet, something like this, but only down here. Well, now what we've got is the bottom of this line you'll see here is what represents the top of our porch framing. So this is going to sit right on the top corner. But then over here, we're going to be tucking in a flat 2x4 that's going to define the bottom of our ceiling. So there's a lot going on here. These are expensive pieces of wood right now. I think each one of these are about $140 plus taxes. So I don't want to make a mistake. We've done a lot of math checking. We've even pulled tapes and said, you know, let's double check by doing more than just the math. But it's finally time, Greg. I'm gonna get my saw right behind you. It's time to make this 45-degree cut.
That's heavy.
Yeah, well, you're in a horrible spot, buddy. The XGT is not too bad. I can actually see where my blade is, so I can hopefully get a nice, clean cut. This guard, man, that's the one downside to this saw. For some reason, this guard does not like to come up very smoothly. Let's go ahead and let's throw it up there and see if it fits. I hope it does.
Yep.
Okay, now go high. 1 second. This is actually going to be like this. Hey, you seem pretty dang close. I'm looking pretty good, I think. All right, now that we've got this where we want it, we're gonna go ahead and add our bottom 2x6. It's always good to kind of do one thing at a time so you don't just keep adding variables into the mix. There you go. Bro, the math just don't lie. There we go. Like a glove. Did I change the speed of this thing? Because it's acting like, oh, it's got 1 bar in the battery. Dang it. Guys, I feel like we cheated a little bit. We didn't use math per se, but I think it's important that this hip is perfect. And if there's anything weird going on in this other framing, we don't want to have to manipulate that. We don't want to have to manipulate all of our framing to match exactly what this hip should be. We've spent the time to try to make the rest of the framing good, but now we're kind of left with the hips and valleys, so they have to be what they have to be, but we want them to look good. So we straightened it, we got our measurements, and everything is looking really nice, so I'm pretty happy there.
Stop it! Stop it! My life is bad enough as it is, man. I don't need you making it worse.
Greg, you got a great life. You're healthy. You got a good job. You got a good job. Look at this. We did this. What else do you really need in life? Women don't give you this sort of satisfaction. That's a quick and
Yeah?
and
Give up your woman.
I didn't say I had to do that. This is theory, okay? We're talking theory. Oh, we are way long. Where's it catching? Because
Right now we're catching on the screw.
is it tight up top or tight in the bottom?
Tight at the bottom.
Yeah. You always want to be long because you can always cut. You can't add wood. They don't make a board stretcher. You know how when you try to put a square object into a hole, you have to get around the corners in order for it to fit in perfectly?
Yeah.
So if you would have come down into your hole at the exact same time I came into my hole, it might have worked. But since we were cocked, my tip was hitting and your tip was hitting. Dude, I'm not joking. I'm being serious, though.
Yeah.
I think that was just a perfect dimension is all. This is a nice, sturdy LVL. And it's only going to get stronger as we continue to frame it out. Little tip for you, YouTube, when you're working by yourself or you're working with someone like Greg who you got to wait on and you want to just work by yourself for a second. what I found is stick a screw through. See that? So you can get it about where you like it. Boom, push it in nice and tight. And now you've just gained yourself a second hand. When Greg gets time to get down there and do his thing, you know, it'll be good to go. Pretty cool, huh, Greg?
I don't appreciate that.
Oh no, I was utilizing this situation as a way to show a really cool technique. We're gonna have to frame a valley in here so that this roof line can continue over onto this roof that I'm standing. So we sheathed all the way through, and now what I need to do is define where this valley is exactly, get some dimensions, and then we'll cut some purlins that will extend from this rafter, and they will get laid on top of this roof deck. Now, there's a good chance that my purlins are not gonna lie directly onto a truss. Now, I could make that happen by adjusting my purlins so that they do lie on a truss, not necessarily in line with these. If I run my purlins to line up with these trusses underneath me at 2 foot on center, because my roof is actually on a pitch, my sheathing will not hit all those purlins at 2 foot on a center. They will just be running 2 foot center perpendicular this way to my sheathing. So what I need to do is keep running the exact same spacing that I've been running, because those were set up so that my sheathing can lay down and hit all of the 2 foot center marks, end perfectly on the middle of a purlin. So we'll have to use some math here to determine exactly up this angle where those points are. But first, let's go ahead and snap some lines. So the first thing I'm gonna do is mark where the top is. Now I know that this is, I know this dimension, and this dimension is the same dimension from the wall out to the outside edge of my header here. So that's a pretty easy thing to know. And then out here, I'm gonna extend that line out past to my fascia. So now I can snap this line right here. So the thing to remember and to consider is that this is already sheathed and we are not sheathed over here. So we're actually on two different planes. We've got a 5/8 sheathing that we need to consider. So this is my framing point, wherever that was up here, that I wanna snap to. But down here at the bottom, if I were to snap exactly in the center where my two fascias meet and snap that line, when I run the sheathing on top of this side that doesn't have sheathing, it's gonna be taller and therefore push my valley too far this way. So I want my valley to be exactly in the center of my two fascias down here. So what I need to do, I'm gonna continue the plane of this sheathing down to where it meets my, my actual framing. And mathematically, this should be 2 1/8 of an inch, because I've done that math and I already know that. But just as a concept, you could just do it that way if you wanted to. And yes, it's like 2 3/16. So pretty darn close. And that is actually where I'm going to want to snap my line from. Not exactly in the center. Okay, so now we're gonna snap this. You'll notice that it's gonna run just about in plane over there with where my framing, and what it should do anyway, is it should be right in plane with the top of this, because as this continues down, this should plane in with my framing right out here on the other side of this truss. So what we're going to do is use the Pythagorean theorem, or SOHCAHTOA, but obviously on our calculator we don't have to know any of that. We just have to punch some numbers in and use the right formulas. But to figure out this angle so that we can mark out every location of the purlin so that they stay on a 2 foot increment going up the line. We need to go 2 foot on our, let's see, that would be 2 foot on our rise and 46.32 pitch, 2 foot 9 and 3/16. Just gonna write that down real quickly. And what I need to do is do 2 foot 8 inch 7/16 plus 2 foot 9 inch 3/16. 5/5 and 5/8. Okay, then 8/2 13/16. 11 foot. Yeah, I remember these dimensions now. And 13/9 and 3/16. So that is the location for my purlins. And then we're gonna plane in right where this is. 98, so 96.5. I gotta subtract 1.5 inches. I know I can use math for this, guys, but this is so much easier, and I'm kind of just, I need to get this done. 73 and an 1/8. You about done on that, huh?
Wow. I gotta go back there and hit all like two.
And over here on this other side, we got to do, yeah.
But I'm gonna do this side first.
Yeah, get it all done.
Get it all done so that way if we want to
Start sheathing.
this side we can.
So Greg's just going around, he's putting all the hangers up where we've installed purlins, and you guys have probably been saying, ugh, you can't just toenail a purlin. Well, you're right. That's why we're using hangers. It's all good. Well, while you're getting me a board, I'll help you. That's what teammates are for, man. Okay, so I always try to cut one that's kind of somewhere in the middle, just as a temporary tester. I can just make sure that everything is correct, and that looks pretty good. I'm right where I need to be. Right where I need to be. Things look good. So in order to make this cut, what I have to do is when I know where the point I'm measuring off of, I'm making a mark, and then I'm using my square that I've set up at a 3 3/4 12 pitch, because that's the roof pitch. And then I've set my saw up at a pitch as well of 2 5/8, or 2.5, 2 5/8. I think that is my valley pitch. So when I make my cut, I get a compound mitered angle, whatever. I will say though, this is like a new saw with the Diablo blade on it. It is cutting much better, Greg. Much, much better. All right, let's go get these installed.
In the valley of the shadow of death.
You know, everybody's like, oh, trust the science, trust the science. I'm gonna get a shirt that's gonna say trust the math. We are blocking all underneath of this so that we actually have something solid. And before we sheathe this, we'll add more fasteners. But what I did was I put a fastener in through the sheathing, and then I can go down underneath and block where I need to exactly for added fasteners. All right, we've got our porch framing done, and we're just getting set up to start our roof sheathing. So what I'm gonna do before we lay the first sheet is I'm going to check for square. So we've got these lines that go up these purlins that indicate the outside edge of this rafter, and I'm going to use those for our starting point. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check this. I'm going to come all the way down here, and I'm going to make a mark at 16 foot. And then, see, this is 8 foot right here. So we're at 97 1/4. So then I'm just going to run my math. 97 1/4, 16 foot. 215 1/4 should be my diagonal down to here. And if it's not, what I need to do is I need to adjust this starting point ever so slightly, or potentially tweak my post. What'd I say, 215 1/4? So, I mean, I can't even make this stuff up. Here, guys, take a look. Greg holds me up at that mark on top of that purlin, and then I pull my tape. I mean, I can't even make this up. Look at this, 215 1/4. That's my mark. Boom. So what that means is we're perfectly square to run from his line down to where I started, and that's also going to allow us to use our sheathing being perfectly square and perpendicular to our fascia to lock our fascia in on a nice straight line as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, go hit that guy right there. This afternoon we were hoping to finish up sheathing the porch. Two things happened. One, as you can see, it started snowing on us, which normally might not be a big deal, but it's causing some slippery conditions, and when you're up, you know, on a second story, you don't want to be in slippery conditions. But two, the other thing it did for us is it made the dirt around the porch too slippery. So it's probably a little bit hard to see, but in order to get the scissor lift over here, and we can do it off ladder, which is probably what we're going to have to do, because there ain't no way that our scissor lift, even being a rough terrain scissor lift, is going to get over here. And now that there's a slick snow over top of this, and it's going to be like 20-some degrees, the snow's not going anywhere. It's going to be slippery. So really all I'm concerned about is getting up there when the snow's off, and then getting our pile of sheathing over there, which I think the telehandler will make it through just about anything. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. It's about the end of the day today, so we're just going to call it, let this snow pass, and then we'll be back to finish up the sheathing. And I've been really bad about showing you guys how I'm doing that with some of the hip and valley. So when we do the other side, I'll try to do a little bit better filming some of the sheathing process. Weatherman said, oh no accumulation. It's gonna just flurry. And here we are, we've got accumulating snow. One of the last cold days today. I think tomorrow morning it'll be cold, but then it's gonna be warming up into the 50s, 60s, even 70 by the end of the week. The problem is, that's not gonna be good for us getting around this site. It's gonna be horribly muddy and soft. So we were, look at this, look at Greg. Don't worry, he's staying in the valley there where there's framing to step on, but really want to get this this porch all, sheathed, get it covered up, get it locked in, get it ready for metal roof. I want to order my metal roof. I've got to get metal for the ceiling. I've got to get metal for the garage ceiling. There's a lot to do. In fact, I need to stop thinking about it because it kind of stresses me out and just get to work, because you know what they say, the best way to eat an elephant is just one bite at a time. Ready? Oops. Yeah. That's not bad, is it? Wait a second. Yeah, you gotta come on. I will. I just didn't want to jam it into your face. You guys, the problem is the telehandler's dead, and I don't have like a jumper on it. So we decided, we're just gonna do it by hand today. It's cold out. It'll get us some good warm up, I guess. Whatever. YouTube, this is how you stay warm right here. I'm getting really warm. And sore shoulders. Okay, ready? We're gonna let it down and we're gonna hold it. We're going to scrape some ice after this. Now, by making sure that we were square when we started with our fascia line that was a snapped line that we know is also very straight, it allows us to do this where we can just keep running, hitting these ends of our tails that we know are straight, and it makes this really easy. So just a little tip for you. Last one, Greg?
Last one.
And then it's on to cuts?
Cut, yeah.
All right, let's do it. It's starting to melt pretty good over there. Okay, go ahead. Because we have two angled edges, we have a valley over there, we have a hip here, there's really nothing good to start on. So we really need to make sure that we start on a square line and make sure that we're perpendicular to our fascia. So that's what we're doing right now. Greg, this is 213 and 9/16. 213, 9/16 run, 8-foot rise. You're looking at 234 and an 1/8. Okay, so that is our square line off of this exact point right here.
All you?
Oh yeah, all me. You, man. I got the sheet. All right, so now that we're entering into the valley, Making sure that we started square is very important, because if we weren't square, then you get skewed angles and things get more complicated. If you're square and perpendicular to your valley that you framed and you used math to frame it or to make all these angles, then I know what I can do is I measured over to the start. So right here, this is like 29 inches and a sheet is 48 inches. So what I can do is 48 minus 29 is 19. Yes, 19. And then I need to figure out, how do I know where that sheet is going to land up here? Well, I use the math. I use the angle creating this valley to determine how far up the sheet I cut, and that's going to give me my cut out. So I'll show you here. It was 19, by the way. I didn't mean 18. Or maybe I said 19. I don't know. 19-inch rise. I put the angle in. 19 and 13/16 should be the cutout that I need in order to figure out this angle cut. So 19, 13/16. And that should be it if the math is correct and I'm doing it correctly. The only thing that gets me sometimes is that I might need to be doing the opposite angle. So every triangle, a square triangle, has a 90-degree corner with two angles that equal 90 when you add them together. So sometimes I get a little confused on which angle I'm using, because this is not a perfect 45. Because this is a pitched roof, even though we're doing a 45-degree angle, if we were flat, when you raise it on a pitch, it becomes not a 45-degree angle. So that is that's where you got to use the math, and I get confused sometimes on which angle I'm going with, but I think I got this right. It appears to be correct. We'll see. We're gonna find out real quick. I mean, I think I'm pretty dang close. I don't have a snap line right here. All right, look at that. I think we got a nice clean angle. I'm looking at my snap line. You know, we could probably change that up just a hair. Not that it probably is gonna matter, because the plane is what we really care about. When we set our metal valley pan in here, we want that to be planed in perfectly on this chalk line right here. Almost got her. Man, the snow is melting though. $73.25. See, once you get it figured out, that's when it becomes kind of cool and enjoyable. All right, guys, that's the roof sheathing here on the porch. Got this all built, sheathed. Now all we got to do is wait for this to dry off, and we'll go ahead and run some WeatherLogic tape across all these joints, get it all sealed, and then we're ready for our standing seam metal roof. It'll be just like the roof up there on the main structure. However, we've got valleys, we've got hips, and we got ridge cap. We got connection details. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to show you. So make sure, if you're interested in that sort of thing, you hit that subscribe button, stick around. And then we got drywallers coming up. We've got siding. We're gonna be back onto siding. We've got the stone to put up, the Versetta stone. We've got a smart side. And man, this thing is gonna look awesome. I can't wait to share it with you guys. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, and I'll leave you guys with some nice drone footage.